Hi, this is Mike from This Old Relic, and I want to tell you about one state that's banning lawns. And I'll give you a hint. It's not California. So I ran across this article. It's from the Salt Lake Tribune, and surprisingly, it's not about Utah either. It's actually Nevada that's looking to ban lawns. With the drought getting worse, new Nevada law bans all non-functional turf by 2026. Now, to give you a little bit of background, first off, this is the Salt Lake City Tribune, which is in Utah, and this is kind of shining a light is what Nevada doing something that's going to be good for Utah, because there's a huge drought. Anybody who gets their water source from the Colorado River is affected by this. All the reservoirs and everything along the Colorado River, and there's a bunch of them, are drying up. And if you're downstream, you got the worst of it all. So there's something to note first off about Nevada. Nevada's a desert. Okay, you would think non-functional turf. Well, they actually do have non-functional turf in there, parkways in between roads and things like that. And they're looking to just tear out the irrigation systems, tear out the grass, and put in artificial turf in all these areas. Now, another thing that they're doing is they're giving benefits to homeowners who want to rip out their lawns and put in artificial turf or some other form of basically rip out the grass, replace it with something. So they're giving up to $3 a square foot to a resident who wants to rip out per square foot of turf that they're ripping out to replace it with something else. Now, in the article, they actually interviewed a woman. Patricia Council is her name. They interviewed her, and she would pay as much as $165 a month to water her front lawn. What could you do with $165 a month? And this is the desert. This is an area that gets 4 inches of rain on average a year. So having a quote drought is a big deal, because it's not the droughts there that they're having an effect of. It's the droughts that are happening in Utah that are actually having the bigger effect. They expect droughts in Nevada. As a matter of fact, Nevada, I believe, just had a huge storm of like 6 or 8 inches or something that flooded streets and everything else. And it was way over the average rainfall for the year, because on average, they get like 4 inches a year. That's not where, but usually they pump all their water in from the Colorado River, particularly Lake Mead, which is their water reservoir. And those are beginning to dry up. What's happening is, as the water's flowing down from Utah, which is who's actually having the drought, and that's all that water collects and flows down the Colorado River. Well, then it flows into Lake Powell, and they're trying to keep the levels up on Lake Powell, because that, I believe, is what pumps up Salt Lake City. And then it flows down, and it comes down to Lake Mead, which is Las Vegas. And there's a lot of other reservoirs. If you're downstream from one of these other reservoirs, it becomes a big deal. And what's happening is that basically you've got 2 different states suffering together. And the question is like, Utah is trying to figure out how much can we give up to Nevada without screwing ourselves, because they can literally shut the dams off at Lake Powell and just stop the flow of the Colorado River and let that fill up. But they have to try to get that water flowing downstream down to Lake Mead, and Lake Mead levels are, and this was one of the biggest things, is trying to deal with the state of Utah and the state of Nevada and negotiating those gates opening up at Lake Powell so that Lake Mead can fill up. And they're really trying to monitor it, because Utah wants to do as little as possible, and Nevada's like, you're starving our electricity, you're starving our water supplies. I just want to take a quick moment out of all of this just to let you know, and ask you to please subscribe to the channel, like the video. Maybe if you want to enter into the conversation, leave a comment down below. And because every time you click the bell, get all of the notifications. We got a lot of fun stuff going on the channel, and it just really helps me out. It helps bring this content out. It just helps grow the channel, grows the community. And that's ultimately what I want to do, is just help grow this community even larger. So go ahead, please subscribe, get all the notifications, like the video, and maybe join the conversation below in the comments. But that being said, let's talk a little bit more about Nevada. Nevada is actually being proactive, more proactive than this than Utah is. And this is part of one of the things that Nevada is actually being very much more proactive about. Now, if you've been following this story, you probably, if you're around the country and you're not in that particular Colorado River area, obviously if you're in the reservoirs that are even below even Lake Mead, you're really in a tight pinch with water supplies. But if you're not in that Colorado River corridor where you're probably not hearing too much about this in the media. Now you can find out there's a lot of local YouTubers out there that are charting this and charting levels the best that they can. A lot of them they're not like, these aren't people, these aren't geologists or waterologists, or I don't know what the scientific term for it is, but they are out there charting these things. Some of them are just doing it for YouTube views. I've been following, I think, Sin City Outdoors. They're actually a fishing channel, and they've been charting this, and they're out on Lake Mead quite frequently. And they've been taking areas around Lake Mead too that you haven't been able to see for a while, and be able to like take video of it because they've all been underwater. But it's one of the things that I noticed in the last video that I watched. They said that the water levels are beginning to kind of rise a little bit, which they were expecting over the winter. So during the winter, people tend to, even I guess in the desert, use less water. And I think they're up maybe about 6 inches. Plus, they also had that big rain, like I think it was like a 6 or 8 inch rainfall all at once that helped fill that up. And that's the reservoir where all that rainwater comes down. They had massive like flash flooding and things like that in the area. And I mean, that right there, if I forgot what it was, 6 or 8, but usually they get 4 inches of rain a year on average in that area. So that's a huge amount of rain, just even if it was spread out, let alone all at once. But with the winter coming, that recent rain, the levels went up about 6 inches. Now, when you sit there and you look at 6 inches, and they'll show you, if you follow this particular channel, they'll talk about it. A lot of times it's like, yeah, but the water level used to be like 100 yards above where they're sitting right now. So it's definitely something that is going to take decades of overflow to really fix what's going on over there. So yes, Nevada does need to take action on this. And they're saying they want to get rid of it all by 2026. So if you're in those desert areas, this is something to look at. It might not be conducive to start looking at expanding your mow game. If you have a mow game and you're in these desert areas like Nevada and I believe Arizona and these areas that really function on the Colorado River, especially these desert areas, like I said, because you can easily save yourself $163 a month on water. And at least in Nevada, you can get $3 a square foot to replace your grass with some fake stuff. So, I mean, to me, that would sound like a no-brainer. Somebody wants to pay me to rip out my grass, and I get to save $165 on water. It's gone. Consider it gone. But yeah, that's how big of an issue the water issues have come. They're really going after lawn and turf, and I don't believe that people really keep a lot of lawn and turf in those areas in general to begin with. But they're really trying to cut back on the plant life. So you are going to, if you're in those desert areas, you might want to start. I mean, like I said, this is hitting Nevada, so definitely if you're like in Sin City and you got a mow game, you're going to want to not look at expanding, but rather look at other areas to expand into. Maybe install artificial turf. That looks pretty good. Or maybe just ripping out turf and filling it in with pea gravel. Just wanted to kind of make you aware of this. This is actually a 3-part series from the, again, it's the Salt Lake Tribune. The article is "With the Drought Getting Worse, New Nevada Law Bans All Non-Functional Turf by 2026. This is part 3 of a part 3 series. And there's part 1 and 2 are available. This was from November 15th, 2022. And it's written by Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, and Sherry Quinn of Utah Public Radio. Keeping you up on that. look for. Surprisingly, California is not on this, hasn't jumped on this bandwagon, or you even heard of like counties or anything like that in California trying to jump on this bandwagon. Probably because they don't have the money to pay out. That would be my guess. They could ban the lawns, but they wouldn't have the money to pay out. Yeah, I think you'll see a lot fewer irrigation systems, a lot fewer lawns definitely in the area. Anyways, I will see you next time.